As a pilot, I appreciate and enjoy operating an aircraft in the safest air transportation system in the world. Hi, I'm John Allen, Director of the Flight Standards Service, and I know a big reason for this high level of safety is the dedicated men and women who work toward aviation safety. We assure the safety while enabling the adventure, commerce, and service of aviation.
Flight Standards Service, also known as AFS, is part of the Aviation Safety Organization within the Federal Aviation Administration. AFS promotes safe air transportation by setting the standards for certification and oversight of airmen, air operators, air agencies, and designees. We also promote safety of flight of civil aircraft and air commerce by setting regulations and standards, accomplishing certification, inspection, surveillance, investigation, and enforcement activities, and by managing the system for registry of civil aircraft and all official airman records.
We have over 5,200 employees in the Flight Standards Service in the U.S., in Europe, and in Asia. We have a good relationship and we work closely with the unions that represent our employees. At headquarters, they're represented by AFSCME, in the regional offices by AFGE, and in the field by PASS.
AFS can be divided into 3 groups: headquarters, which incorporates various program offices, 8 regional offices, and 135 field offices. Each group has its unique responsibilities, yet they all work together toward a common goal of safety. Within headquarters, program offices have 4 main areas of focus: standards and policy, certification, surveillance, and mission support. Several divisions set standards and policy for certification and surveillance, like the International Programs and Policy Division AFS 50.
My division is responsible for international aviation safety, that being the foreign carriers that come and go into the United States and their civil aviation authorities. By far, the most important program that we're responsible for is the International Aviation Safety Assessment Program, otherwise known as IASA program. One of the more important recent projects that we have is sharing of data with the International Civil Aviation Organization. We are melding our databases so that the safety data can be universal. I have over 30 years experience as a mechanic. I've flown as a flight engineer and a private pilot, so I've covered pretty much every gamut of aviation.
The Air Transportation Division, AFS 200.
AFS 200 is responsible for the regulations and policy that governs large air carriers, small air carriers, to include on-demand operations, simulator pilot schools, and the qualification of simulators around the world. In industry, I flew for charter operations and corporate operations for about 18 years. One of the reasons I maintain my pilot's license is so that I understand how the national airspace system affects other pilots who operate in that system. One of the things we're working on is our new regulations for flight duty and rest. Those regulations haven't been changed in nearly 30 years. Additionally, we're working on some improved rules for flight crew member training and qualification.
The Aircraft Maintenance Division, AFS 300.
The Aircraft Maintenance Division is responsible for regulations, national policy and guidance, for certification, inspection, and surveillance, as well as support of aviation education. One of our initiatives involves standardizing of audits. We're going to develop and harmonize processes and procedures to streamline the auditing with the national and global aviation authorities. The Aircraft Maintenance Division is looking at aviation education as well as how they can improve the curriculum and the oversight for the field inspector when it comes to an aviation maintenance technician school. We're looking for the more advanced technician, not only with mechanical abilities of turning wrenches, troubleshooting, but also with that computer-based background as we move into the future with the 787, the 380. Aviation technology is changing rapidly. We're doing our best to support that changing technology by developing policy and guidance to allow for the installation of the equipment in the aircraft to operate safely in the NAS.
The Flight Technologies and Procedures Division, AFS 400.
Our role in AFS 400 is to safely introduce new technologies into the National Airspace System. I have over 30 years of flying. This experience will help provide the insight of how I can work with the major air carriers and corporate aviation with the introduction of new technologies throughout the world. Two of the major technologies that we're dealing with today is ADS-B and performance-based navigation. In addition to that, we have a key challenge, and that's the introduction of unmanned aircraft systems into the national airspace.
The Training Division, AFS 500.
The Flight Standards Training Division provides mission support to the service by performing a registrar function. We perform the enrollments for all of our Flight Standards students and maintain all the course records. We also design, develop, deliver, and evaluate all of our sponsored courses. In addition, we serve as the management of the training budget. Our challenge is to ensure that we're able to keep up with all the new technology and all the regulation changes that are occurring within the industry.
The General Aviation and Commercial Division, AFS 800.
In addition to the general aviation pilot, we take care of just about every other operational need that doesn't have to do with air carriers. A critical component of the outreach that we have is going out to those that are members of the organizations and that come into the symposiums and the presentations. But the other portion of that is working with industry to find innovative ways to reach the unreached pilot. Our goal has always been to have the safest national airspace system in the world. The experience that I bring helps me do that, both as a mechanic and as a commercial helicopter pilot, and as a regulator in the years that I've spent with the agency.
And the Certification and Surveillance Division, AFS 900.
Our primary mission is to provide the tools, processes, and software that 4,500 aviation safety inspectors use to ensure that airlines and repair stations comply with our rules. For the larger airlines, the system is called the Air Transportation Oversight System, or ATOS. And for the smaller airlines, we publish guidelines called the National Program Guidelines. We have a very robust system in place to provide oversight of airlines. We have a national air carrier evaluation program to do in-depth audits of air carriers on a periodic basis. My experience with the Air Force as a squadron commander and as a vice wing commander is somewhat akin to managing an airline. So it gives me a good insight into how airline systems are used to deliver products to customers.
All these divisions work together and often form teams to reach policy objectives and to spearhead various programs and initiatives. Teaming allows more flexibility to accommodate a rapidly changing airspace system. Once policy is set by headquarters, the 8 regional offices implement those policies.
Each region has some unique responsibility, yet each of us share in at least 3 core responsibilities. First is to implement national policy and programs. Second is to enable our field offices to have the safety oversight of their assigned operators. And third, to provide support, both technical and administrative, for our field offices.
Field offices are the third and primary part of the Flight Standard Service equation. We have 135 Flight Standard District offices, aircraft evaluation groups, certificate management offices, and international field offices, allowing our inspectors to perform daily oversight tasks, working with the operators to assure that any aircraft, foreign or domestic, must meet and maintain our high standards in order to operate in our airspace.
The typical Flight Standards District Office is a primary interface between the aviation community and the FAA. Inspectors within that office are responsible for the safety and the regulatory oversight of operators within the district. One of the most important functions we have is to provide a point of contact for the operators and to provide that human interface between the operators and the rules and the regulations.
Combined, headquarters, regional offices, and field offices are working to meet and exceed the needs of our ever-growing national airspace system and continuing to be the world leader on system safety.
The Flight Standards Service, setting the safety standard for the world through regulation and certification of the operational component of our air transportation system.